Hey guys, it's me, Kelly. I have an extra special treat for you today. Not only do I have Ryan Cropper, but I have a couple other guests here, Derek and Renoir, and we are going to be talking about astral projection and all things astral projection. Oh, and some other stuff as well. We also would love your questions as we go along. So without further ado, here is Ryan Cropper back by popular demand. Woohoo!
I know there was a lot of questions last time that needed to be answered, and it built up on the side. So I thought, well, what better way to answer the astral projection questions than to have people on here who have taught astral projection who can do it pretty much all the time that they want to do it, and then we can all just answer the questions as they flow. Yeah.
That sounds good. Like how long have you known Derek and Renoir?
Oh, Derek is quite recent, quite recent. But Renoir, I've known him for quite a while. I've been teaching him a lot of stuff. Like he knows more than most people do that I've taught anything. Like he knows stuff further than astral projection. He's going to be entering. We've done shadow integration. He's going to be entering a skill where you pull memories and skills that other parallel yous have and bring it into 3D. So it's like, every version of you knows different amount of things. They know a certain amount of tasks. I want to get him to the point where you can take things from them and bring it over here. I've done it before to the point where I woke up next to my girlfriend and I didn't even know her because I was operating as the me that was in the other place. And then I was like shocked to see her, and then I downloaded this character of me, and then it came along with the memories and everything. So I just want to utilize that and teach him that kind of thing. Derek's been doing astral projection, and he did it by using the course that's over on my website. And he managed to do it. How long did it take you to do it, Derek?
Thinking back, I would say maybe a week before I fully got out and was like, wow, this is cool. You know what I mean? I would pop out, but come back in. I would go through the vibrations and that fear of the unknown would kick in, and and then it was time. It only took a week to answer your question because I had that fear of the unknown. It wasn't because that I couldn't do it. Like I was sharing with you, I could always do it, but it was just the fear of the unknown after the vibrations. I would cut it off from the vibrations, going into the vibrations. So after a week, and I talked to you again, and you was like, hey man, it's thought responsive. Just be cool, go with it, and So it was about a week after I had the course that I just went all the way through it.
Before he asks some more questions, I've got some questions. When you got to that point where you were talking about the vibration, did you ever feel like you were falling? Was that part?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, Ryan, if you want me to just start from now. I don't want to get too long-winded if you had, another way that you want to bring it. But
we're all here to learn.
Okay, well, I had this amazing... Some of the things, ladies and gentlemen, that one thing when I go to the astros, like in this 3D dimension, I know I'm talking with my mouth, and I told Ryan about this the other day. I know I can hear with my ears, I know I see with my eyes, but in the astros, it's like I can hear with everything. My whole being is alert. It's almost like I'm seeing through the eyes of God. And I hit that. This was last night. I hit the Astros, and I think I went back in time. I don't even know how. Usually when I astral project in my room, and I just get up out the bed and I'm walking around my home. But last night was kind of different. It could have been because I was having a lucid dream. And in the dream, it started getting a little, I was surrounded by a bunch of guys, and we were having some disagreements in the dreams, and they were getting a little rowdy, and and I didn't want to hang around anymore, so I started running down the street away from the guys, and I guess I got too excited, and so I woke up in sleep paralysis. And so I just stood there, and in sleep paralysis, I learned to like it because that's the best time. That's one of the second ways that I astral project is when I hit sleep paralysis. I take advantage of it, and I just do my deep breathing as if I'm sleeping. I actually recorded myself. This is kind of weird, but it's kind of cool if a lot of you get stuck in sleep paralysis and you start, getting kind of scared. Record yourself sleeping and listen to your sleep breathing, your sleep patterns, especially if you sleep like I kind of. And I recorded it, and I just listened to it for a week until I could, like, breathe with my sleep patterns. So now when I hit sleep paralysis, I kind of like, it's weird, it's kind of like a mind hack. I trick my mind to think that I'm still asleep so I could, it just starts the vibrations from the paralysis. So my mind is still, my body is still asleep, but I'm fully aware, I'm fully conscious. And I guess my mind said, hey, he's asleep, so let's start the vibration process. So when I went in to the astrals from the lucid dream, I wasn't in my room. It was kind of weird. And that's the first time, Ryan, that's happened to me, because normally I project and I'm in my room. So I just get up, and it was becoming kind of habitual. I do my same things. But this particular time, it wasn't a void. I could see space, but there were, how can I put it? There were no physical objects in this space, but I could, like, see the space. It was kind of weird. But anyway, it took me back. I was in first person, and I went all the way back to I was like seven years old, and I could see these images. And I gained knowledge of when my third eye first activated, when I became spiritual, because I could always see things, kind of like you, Ryan, like things around the house and things. But it took me back. I was 6 years old, and I was really excited, and I was running down the stairs. I don't know if you guys can see them. Can you see the center of my head?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see the little cut right across my third eye?
Oh, dear.
I forgot all about it. You don't look at these things. Well, I fell down the stairs. I got so excited. I was running down the stairs, and I hit my head right on my pineal gland. And I forgot this vision that I'm telling you now. I forgot all about it. And I fell down the stairs, and I hit my head. And when I woke up, I was in the operation room. I was a little kid, and I was getting stitches. But I was looking at the doctors stitching me up. And I could hear them talking, and I could hear them, everything that was...
So you were like standing beside them from that perspective?
I was first person, but I was looking over them, stitching me up.
And you could see yourself and
little child, and they were stitching my head up. So it was kind of weird, and I said, wow, that's when my third eye, I hit my head, and I guess it activated my pineal gland when I was young. So that answered a lot of questions for me of why I could always, I don't want to call it a voice. Maybe Ryan can go deeper on this, but I could always hear spiritual things. My intellect was always high. I could hear this voice, and I always thought it was God. You know how we taught, or it's the Holy Spirit, when you're in the Matrix or religion. But I would always see visions. I could always see, not vivid, but I was always trapped between two frequencies. Maybe now that I'm getting more in understanding, I was in the 3D, but almost, in the fourth dimension, the astral planes. And I always had lucid dreams. So what connected me with Ryan is I didn't know if there was a difference between actually coming out of the physical body and astral projecting, or was it just all being aware that you're in your dreams. And that's how I contacted Ryan, and we started talking, and he told me it was definitely a difference. And that's when I became very, very interested in actually leaving my physical body and astral projecting.
Well, that is way cool. We've got a bunch of people who are in here now. Oh, and by the way, I always knew it was God talking to me when he disagreed with when I wanted the answer to be. I was like, no, that's God. Didn't give me the answer I wanted. So we've got someone saying, yay, yay, you're here. Hi, lovely people. Yay. We've got like a lot of people already asking questions over here. So excellent,
Oh.
excellent. So, Renoir, like, what's going on with you? Like, with astral traveling, how long have you been doing it? Do we have to have the Reader's Digest version? I'm sure. So, oh, can he hear us, Ryan?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, Renoir, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah, you're
Oh,
asking me. Sorry.
yeah. Like, how long have you been astral projecting? What's
Uh,
going on with you?
But so, gosh, I mean, I don't even know where to actually begin with all that. Um, I became a student actually of Ryan before he knew I was his student. I stumbled, well, I wouldn't say stumble, because nothing is by accident. Everything is predestinated, and everything is, we make these deals before we come back here in these bodies. So the thing is that I got onto one of his videos, and he was talking about astral projection and astral travel, and a little bit of my background is pretty steeped in, I guess one would call witchcraft on both sides of my family. So I knew a few things, but I never knew anything about how to do that. So I downloaded every one of his videos, every video that would come up. Download, I have all your videos. I have the new videos with Ryan, by the way, and some of the ones that you took off your channel. And the thing is I just made notes. Have my book here, and I have several books. So I just made these notes and went through the process. And I haven't experienced the paralysis. I came out differently. I just heard the noises. Like sirens, like a cattle, like a whistle going off in my head. But because of the information in the videos, I wasn't fearful when I came out. Actually, the first time when I actually came out, it was like a surreal feeling because the room was so much larger. And the astrals, I mean, everything looks different. The space is different. And there are a few things missing out of the room. And I was just flying around in my room, and I was like, I'm out, I'm actually out. I finally got out. And then Ryan taught me this this trick about getting from one place to the other, the door trick, Ryan. So I started to utilize that, where I would make it an intention. If I wanted to visit someone or go to a particular place, I would come out, and then I would go out the door, and before I opened the door, that intention would be in place and I would end up right there. Just recently, one of the new things that Ryan's taught me was the lucid dreaming. I thought that would have been quite difficult. But there's just so much to learn, so much information. And I finally got a hand on to it, where I actually became awake in the dream. And I took over the dream in entirety, and I was doing things in the dream. I got to the point the last time I had a lucid dream, this was I think 2 weeks ago, I almost slipped into the astrals because I started to fly and I was going up high. And if you're at a certain speed, I mean, you could actually switch, your vibration would actually change. But then I stopped and I came back in. I mean, there's so much things I can share with you pertaining to that. In touching on a bit of what I mentioned earlier about my background, and a lot of folk, I don't know what they may think or perceive religious-wise, the society on the whole, when they hear things of sorcery, witchcraft, astral projection, in truth, they're all really under the same umbrella. Science, you can call it that. Some may disagree. But I don't like labels. I really don't. I mean, labels are just what they are. But I connected in 2013. I had an incident in which I went to New Orleans, and I shared this with Ryan. So I connected with the spirits of the lower.
And it's so interesting how persons who would be into different spirits and deities, you know, just communication and talking with. But I mentioned this in particular because I was curious to know what I had on my altar when I came out of my body. So I wanted to see exactly who I actually was talking to, and I mean, had the faith and had the belief, and I saw certain things, and it was a surreal experience. And I mentioned it was Papa Legba. I had an altar for Papa Legba, and when I came out and I went to the altar, and everything changed. I felt the energy of this Lord, and then I actually was sucked into like that realm where he was seated, and I mean, it was just certain things I can't even get into talk about what was said, but to have that experience, to see the reality of the spirits that we're surrounded with, the friends that we are surrounded with that we can and cannot see. I had an experience, Ryan, I don't know if I mentioned to you before, where I was in an accident. I think this was a few years ago. This was before the projection part that you taught me. But my father passed on some years ago, and my grandmother on my mother's side, and her grandmother. Now, the thing is, with the three of them, they had this one thing in common. They were in the craft. Well, my father traveled a lot, so he learned a lot about different things in craft. But my grandmother on my mom's side, she was a powerful psychic. And her grandmother, she was one of those, I guess you'll call supreme witches. But I never knew her because she was born in the 18th century. So I heard so much about her, and I always was talking about her and always wanted to meet her. So I had this accident, and I was in the hospital, and literally they were working on me, and I was out of my body. This is where I realized, when I stumbled onto Ryan's videos about the astral projection and you actually could leave your body, this is where I knew that this wasn't bull, that there was something onto it, but I just didn't know how to consciously do it. But that experience, I was out and I was watching them. They were crying and weeping over my body, and the doctors were saying there's absolutely nothing they can do. And then there was this big bright light, brighter than anything that I've ever seen. And there were my father, he was on one side, my grandmother, my mother's mother, who's passed away, and her grandmother, who I never met, who was from the 18th century, and they were all in the clothing for their time period. My grandmother's grandmother, her name was Mama Dola, and she was dressed in her period clothing, 18th century, hair and that bun, and it was so surreal. And the only thing they said to me, they introduced her to me, that you were always asking about her, you're always talking about her, but here is she, and then she smiled, and you know, they would say, well, you know what, it's not your time to go anywhere as yet. I mean, but we're always around you, we're always here with you. So that was like one of those surreal experiences, and that opened me all up more to learning more about myself and learning about projection and lucid dreaming. There's just so much. And where I'm at right now, I shared with Ryan recently, I just moved. I'm in a new space, I'm in a new flat right now, and where I was before, the energies were a bit negative and constraining, and there was only so much control that I had that was only in the room that I was in. The moment I came in here, different. Well, I met some other folks inside here. When I came out of my body, because I shared with Ryan, because they were making noises and they were walking up and down, and you know, I was like, okay, this is my place. You got to get up. So did a few things, pushed them out. Then something else came back in that was persistent. But that's when I went and I did a little something else in dealing with the lower. And then, but anyway, I got rid of them. But they were right there making noise, walking about. But I wasn't afraid. I felt stronger. I feel stronger in my own space, in this own space. and I'm just coming out more often than I have been before, and the lucid dreaming has just increased, and things are just opening up. The empathic part, I was talking to Ryan because as a child I was very empathic. That's one of the reasons why they used to call me witch and all sort of other things that caused me to suppress a lot of things because I would tell people things before it happens. So I guess I just shut it off. It made me feel bad about it, especially when you grew up in a church background, because I had a little bit of a charismatic Catholic, and then anything that's out of the ordinary that they don't understand, they would demonize and they would condemn. You know, that's the odd part. And so that caused me to shut that down for a bit. But on its own, because I've been coming out of my body and projecting, everything is reopening. And I've learned, and I'm learning how to deal with it. In dealing with past, we were talking about past regressions, Ryan, you teaching me on that, and facing shadow aspects of yourself and certain things that I had forgotten that had happened to me, certain things that were abusive that I had forgotten that really did a number on me, but I was able to revisit that, understand it and learn from it and realize to release it. That before I even came here, I knew these things were going to happen. They knew they were going to do whatever was going to be done to me. So I'm at this place right now of, and you know it may sound trite to a few persons and a little off there, but we're all connected. We're all one, and we truly create our own reality. We are responsible for everything. I mean, we manipulate our reality. Where I'm at now, I was out of work for a while, just last year. And how I got this job, by the way, Ryan, I'm sure I mentioned it to you. When I came out in the Astrals, and there's so much power when you're out there, you can do so much things, and I've learned that. And I made certain decrees, and I said certain things, that I'm employed, that I have this job back in public service right when I came out of my body. And that charged and that sped things up and brought it onto this plane just like that, quickly. And the thing is that this was like last year, November, and I was able to get a vehicle in December, and was able to pay for that vehicle in completion by the end of February. So, I mean, my vibration, everything has changed, and it's changing. And then I'm remembering so many different aspects of myself. And when I say, when a person asks me, well, you're Renoir, but I'm not just Renoir, that's just a name, and I just don't identify that. That's who I am now. I remember certain past aspects of my past life now. I could remember actually one of my last lifetimes, and then I laugh at it. And just the other day, I had this experience where I'm at right now, which is current. I seem to have somehow gotten into alternate realities. I don't know how. I guess it's because things are expanding rapidly with me. And I literally was in different places, in different versions of myself. And I spent, this was what today is, what? It's Thursday. It's my birthday, by the way. So
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And this was like earlier this week, and I spent about hours laying in bed because it took a while for me to remember that, okay, you're back here, you're Renoir, look at your curtains, you're in this reality. Because then, I mean, I kept bouncing from one place to the other, different aspects of myself where I was living differently, where I was a different person, where I knew. So it took a while when I came back, and I was like, okay, yes, that's right. I'm this person now here, but you know, it's just so much things have been happening, and
Yeah, Ryan. I mean, this is so much bigger than people think it is. They think that it's just, oh, I pop out of my body and have some fun and come back. But in reality, You have just both of you have listed, well, and Ryan he's listed a lot as well, a lot of things that can come from this. So in this, we've got some questions over here that from some people. They're kind of curious. Want to see kind of what you think about that. Could you ask, well, they say him, so, you know, we're asking all of you guys. Could you ask him whether he observed the Earth as round or flat when astral projecting?
That question came up when Derek was talking. I was watching on the side.
Yeah, oh, so that one was for Derek? Okay.
That question was for me?
Yeah, and I'll ask Renoir, too, because, you know, he's been flirting around out there, too, so.
Well, just from my... I never really, to be honest with you, and that's the only way I know how to be, you know, when we talk about these different things. I never place my consciousness on that particular, is the Earth round or is the Earth flat. When I astral project, I have a specific task that I want to accomplish, like right now, because when you astral project, it's so, like when Wal was saying, it's so surreal. It's hard for me to, especially me being new, so I can probably relate to a lot of things that the new people might have questions about. It's to just know that it's a whole nother dimension and plane that's been here all the time, and I'm 45 years old, to realize that, hey, I've been in a matrix all of this time and this is really real. You get lost in the astral plane. So what I do is I write specific things down and I meditate on them, so when I do pop out, because every time you pop out of your body, it's incredible, and it's all thought responsive. So it's, if you don't, what I'm trying to say is, if you don't have a strategic plan, you kind of get caught up in it, especially when you're new. I'm talking from a new perspective. Now, of course, the more that you do it, you become, you know, seasoned, and you can just get in there and, you know, but in the beginning, you know, it took me 30 days just to learn how to navigate, how to walk, how to fly, how to go through things and not get stuck in the wall.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know, like the first week, I would actually, I heard Ryan say he goes through walls, and I would get to the wall and push my hand in the wall, and I'm trying to, okay, I have to learn how to translate. But when I would push my hand in the wall, I could feel the wall as energy, and I actually became, my consciousness would go into the wall, and me and the wall would be one. I don't know if that makes sense. And the longer you stay there, you become one with the wall, and you have a perception of being a wall. So if you just go through the wall, you can feel the energy, but then you can just go through the wall. So I took about a week just to write out what I like to call my commands, to master my commands, so I could learn how to navigate around, because in the astrals, it's thought responsive. And that's why it's so imperative. It lines up with meditation perfectly, because when you meditate, you always, the intent is to center your mind, to quiet your mind. So you have one, focus your consciousness on one thing, because the biggest misconceptions about the astral plane, and it's what stopped me from astral, it's what cheated me out of years from visiting this plane. Because when I talked to Ryan, I told, yeah, Ryan, I think I've astral projected before, but it was like, you know, let me answer this question. A lot of people say, what are the dangers of astral projecting? I get that a lot. I see it a lot. I love this guy on YouTube, and he sends out a warning. But I understand his warning, because what might be dangerous to me might not be dangerous for Ryan, or what might be dangerous for me. When I say dangerous, we're talking about mentally. You see what I mean? So if you're religious, or you believe certain things, or you were raised a certain way, or what you watch on TV, or whatever is in your mind at the time of projection is going to manifest in a thought responsive reality. So a lot of these, I don't want to say so-called, because what people see in their world, like I can't, I'm gonna butcher your name, Ray, say it for Renoir, no,
Renoir. There you go.
Renoir. What Renoir is saying is we create our own realities and thoughts. It's all on thoughts. So I don't want to put a percentage up there, but I see all different kind of what I would call, by the language that I have, entities in the astros. But now, what I've learned actually this week by just hanging around my wife in my home when I astral project, I can see her light body when she sleeps. It's like a little outlining of light around her physical body while she sleeps. And the more, I guess, in her REM sleep patterns, it kind of almost comes out about 2 to 3 inches out. And if you're Christians call that the soul. So I would say I could actually see her soul in her body. But on the astral planes, I see different entities that don't have that. And so I was talking to Ryan, and Ryan says, well, a lot of the things in the monsters and demons, and there are real demons, and depending on your language, are thought created from the earth. And people who do astral project and have these type of thoughts, they manifest. So you have a cesspool of thoughts that become reality in the astral plane. So the advice that I would give anyone who wants to astral project, I always tell people when I talk to them about it now, it's what is your intent for astral projection? And I would probably say 80% of the people just want to try it. And I would just say it's nothing wrong with that. But if you have a strong intent or your reason for wanting to do it, other than I just want to see if it's real, I think you would have a much, much better, what's the word I want to use? Experience with astral. It's a natural thing that anyone can do, but it takes, it's your why. If we go back to the 3D world, what's your why? Why do you want to astral project? What do you want to get from it? And my why for astral projection was just to get a lot of answers that could not be answered by religion and what I was raised on, and I just needed answers. I had a void in my life. I didn't know why I could hear things. I didn't know why I could see things. I didn't know why I could fly and other people couldn't fly. I didn't know that I was flying in a different dimension. You see, so all of these questions I had, they were answered as soon as I came out of my body and realized there's multiple thousands. We can't even number the dimensions that are out there. And we've been, a new word that I like, we've been bamboozled and thinking that the third dimension, or the third dimension is life. And that's the big thing. So, to answer a lot of questions, you will know when you astral project, you have a lot of questions that need to be answered. And so, because that realm is so thought responsive, and you can request your higher self, which exists in all of these different dimensions at the same time. That's what's so amazing. You will be able to see who you really are, and to kind of like when Ross said, you can just manipulate the 3D dimension, because you realize that if I think something in the astral, it's instant. And that's what The Secret was all about in the third dimension. Someone actually astral projected and came up with this big course called The Secret. They packaged it up and they manifested it in the 3D dimension. But the thing about The Secret is the third dimension is dense, is much more dense than the astral. So you can have those thoughts, but it takes longer if you're doing it in the third dimension. But when Ross said, now if you astral project and have those thoughts and manifest them from the astral and create the energy on the astral plane, when you come back to your physical body, you're bringing that energy from the astrals back to the 3D dimension, and it's going to manifest a lot faster. So I hope that gave some of you guys a little bit of insight from. I'm a rookie projector, but I have strategic things that I want to do. My goal, and I'm gonna pass the mic for my astral projection, is the healing. The healing. I don't see doctors now. I don't go to the doctor. I don't take medications, and I've been doing the best that I can from just natural herbs. So what the astral plane has given me access to is the galactic, and I don't want to, it might sound kind of weird, or some of you guys know what I'm talking about, is the galactic core of healing energy from the universe, this energy that can fill our bodies. And when I say healing, I realize now from astral projecting, we're all energies and frequencies, you know, and this physical is just, I like to call it the skin suit that we put on to navigate around the three-dimensional plane, you know, but we're all just energy. And when we begin to get sick, our energies and our frequencies get out of line from cell phones and microwaves. It's just incredible when you go to the astros. You can see everything that's happening here. Like, it's so vivid, like, oh, that's why the brain cancers. It's the different frequencies. We are all frequencies and energy, and we all vibrate on different energy levels to even exist, to manifest in the 3D dimension. So when I go to the astral plane, my goal is to tap into the core, the light healing energy from the center of the galaxy that's for everyone, to align frequencies and to put that energy into my light body, my astral body, and project back to Earth, and then direct that energy towards the people who are in need, who have sickness, disease, and just heal, just realign their frequencies from the power from the astral plane. So I'm super excited, and that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me to push past my fears, because my fear, I haven't got to the Ryan Cropper level or even this young man here. My fear at one particular time was the fear of the unknown. And you guys will know what I'm saying when you first come out of your body. And picture this. Picture a newborn baby in the third dimension. Just picture this in your mind and you'll understand. When a newborn baby is born, right, they have their mom right there to feed them, to protect them, to keep them warm. That newborn baby isn't crawling down the street. That newborn baby is never left alone. But I'm here to tell you guys, when you astral project, that's why Ryan is just a very, very important key for me, because Ryan is like a guide for me. Because when you hit the astral planes, unless you learn how to request assistance, you're by yourself. And a lot of people hit the astros that way, and that's why you get so many different YouTube videos of different experiences, because you got a lot of people that's just popping out, and they're babies. They can't even walk. They don't even know. I've seen people get stuck, like I did, get stuck in the wall. And that's their video. I astral projected, don't do it. I couldn't move. It was a demon pulling me through a wall. No, you didn't know how to navigate from the wall.
And I guess that's Ryan's job, and Ryan, since you're the parent, you have to make sure that baby doesn't keep putting stuff in its mouth that'll hurt them. So Ryan's got a big job there, taking care of all these astral babies.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Don't put that in your mouth. Put that down. Put that down. So, Renoir, have you astral projected planet Earth to see what was going on, or see if it's flat or round, or if it exists, if you could even see it?
Well, the thing is, I mean, I truly believe everything is laid out like pages. I think it's really, if I'm correct on how it could be really set up. We think so much in this realm because this 3D, this natural realm, everything being round, but everything is so different in that in the astrals, in the real-time zone. I call the real-time zone the version when you're out of your body and you can view other people in this dimension here. Just to say this little quick bit here, but Ryan, I don't think I never said this to you, or you ever knew about this, but I mentioned before that I've been your student before. I've been your student, but I made an intention to meet you. I listened to, and I made some notes, and then I tried to find you, actually. I think I got close because I remembered your room, and I opened the door, but it was just dark inside there. But I did something in the realm. I wrote a note, and it said, Renoir needs you. And lo and behold, months later, we actually connected. So somehow, I mean, you got it. And I never mentioned that part to you, so I know you never knew. I mean...
Well, he didn't want you to know that he was an astral stalker, so...
Astral stalker.
Yeah, and I needed that assistant. I needed, you know, to break it down. But getting back to that, on the realms, on the astral realms, I've been to places where and there's a lot I have to learn and a lot I am learning, but I have different abilities and different planes. And what I mean by that, I can sometimes, I guess you call pyrokinesis. You watch stuff like X-Men, and you see they doing these different things in telekinesis. It's really freaky and gets really out there. It's real. Places where I have been, I guess these were different worlds, where beings, they were in trouble, or they were going through something, but I was just there. But I realized that I had the power. At one point, I didn't know I had the power to do. I tried the telekinesis, and one particular moment, I'll have to look to my book to actually give you the actual story on that. But just to break it down for our viewers here, I remembered in one realm I could move objects quickly. I mean, with just a flicker, a thought, and other beings. But in this realm, these things, they were, I don't know what they were, but they were bad. These folks, they were trapped. And I realized I couldn't move them. I couldn't move them, but I knew, I mean, I had to have had some power in this plane. But then a voice, friend, this is why I tell you we have astral friends, said to me, you can't move the actual beings, but you can move objects around them. And so I said, oh, okay. And then I did that. And then I was able to do some mad, crazy things on that plane right there. So I think it's laid out to answer that question, to get back. Like pages, almost like pages in a book. I think because there are different levels, different planes. I feel it's laid out that way. I've been in a particular situation when I was coming out of my body. I remember, and I was using one of Ryan's techniques, and I included.
Is that one of his books that you've got? Is that one of his books?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is the book that you have, is that like a workbook? Can you show it to us?
Oh yeah, this is my workbook, notes that I have, and I have other books, notes that I've been taking from lessons from Ryan. I have notebooks upon notebooks, pages upon pages, and I have other books of my actual astral experiences of beings that I have met, some crazy beings, I guess you'll call them. This lady who I don't know, but I know how to say that, but I don't know her, but I knew her. When I was coming out of my body and I was using a technique and the rope popped, I materialized the rope to pull myself up, and it popped. And she said to me, hurry up, come out of your body, hurry up. And she threw me a line. And the thing is, I don't know her from this human standpoint, but in my spirit, I know her, that we knew each other. I mean, this is why I say that, I mean, we're old spirits. We're very old spirits, older than you can imagine. And we have friends there. And then she threw me that line, and then I caught it, and I came out, and then I was able to do some things. And, I mean, there's just so much. And then and it just, even on this etheric, this real-time zone, I visited a few other persons, a few friends of mine. But I got the sense this was like during the early days. I mentioned to Ryan that I often don't do that now because I think accidentally I may have haunted one or two of them, and what I meant by that, because I was able to
I
move.
love it.
Yeah, so I think I may have haunted them, not knowing that and it was not my intention, because I caught one of them. They were asleep, and somehow I was pulled into their dream, into their head, and I had a conversation with them, and then they woke up, and then they mentioned, and then they talked. They were like, "What's going on here?" I mean, and they were like kind of freaked out, and they had other spirits around them that have passed on. That were protecting them, but they did nothing, to me, because they could sense that I was not an evil being. So I mean, I've had wild experiences like that. So when I'm visiting anyone, I want to approach it with caution now, because I don't want to, especially if they don't know anything about astral projection, haunt them by accident, because it can come across as a haunting. You could move things, and you have enough energy. You could move certain things around the room, and touch them, and they feel it. So yeah, but
that brings up some ethics, Ryan. So is that part of what you teach when you teach people how to do this? Is maybe ethics, or is that up to the individual? What
do you mean by that? Do you mean
like don't scare people in their sleep. Don't stalk Ryan. Just kidding. What have some people done that have actually, can you hurt someone? I mean, if it's like, I'm mad at someone, I'm going to go, mess with them. Like, is it even possible?
You can't hurt them. You can freak them out quite a bit. I had people when I was a kid, before I knew how to astral project, I had entities, ghosts, people who passed on, which I could see clear as day. Right, this is when I was at an age where I can see them in my room, but they thought I couldn't see them because they're not used to people seeing them. And I'd watch them just like, there was this one point, my friend Lewis was in my house, and it was my birthday. I had cards up on my TV, and one of the entities knocked the cards like really hard. No windows were open, nothing, but these were like proper knocks, like if someone was angry and they just knocked them off. I saw the entity that did it. He didn't see the entity. And I think that's pretty much the most you can do to annoy someone. If you're in an astral form, you could play with their surroundings. I know that when I astral project, there have been moments where my astral body, the temperature was too hot. Because the things in my room, there was like glasses of water, and the glasses of water will start to boil over, and the gravity on the things around me wasn't behaving the same. They would like tip, and you would have glasses filled up, and it would just be like balancing on the edge of the glass. Like this, and I'd look around the room, and there'll be things up in the air. That's when I started also experimenting with telekinesis. And my cat, I'm pretty sure cats can astral project as well. Cats and other animals. I've done it with my dog.
Yeah.
Definitely with my dog. And I came downstairs, and he knew exactly what just happened because he was all excited to see me after what we just did. And but I've done it with glasses, animals like cats, Xbox remotes. I levitated it and spun it around me in circles because when I was getting used to it, I was getting good at it. I tried a car once. I tried to move a car without touching it in the astral realms. That works pretty well as well. I shrunk things in the astral realms. I had a car from a distance, when you do that with someone's head. And I shrank it down, and I moved my hands, and the car was missing, and I opened my hand, and it was a toy car. You can play a lot in the astral realms. And flying, I've experienced 4 different ways to fly in the astral realms that feel completely different. And that's because it's in different dimensions. When you're in different dimensions, it feels differently to fly. One of them I felt heavy, but I was moving up in the air, and my legs were tingling. The other one, the space in front of me, it contracted. It just dissipated. It wasn't there. The space disappeared in front of me, expanded behind me, and I was moving through space that way. And it felt like I wasn't even moving. It just felt like the space around me was moving. And that's when I really picked up some speed that way. And then you got the classic Superman flying where you feel light and you feel the force field around you, and you can punch through the air pretty quick, and you can feel the wind and everything, the rain. And I used telekinesis to fly the first time. After moving objects, I moved my body with telekinesis, and I went up into the clouds, and I just dropped down. And I would literally, about a foot away from the floor, I'd catch myself before I hit the floor, and then I'd go in the other direction. I was nuts in the astral realms. But what I'd like to be able to do is healing. Healing, like you mentioned. It was on a chat yesterday that I recorded and put on my channel. I think it's an hour long, with someone who did DMT, and he also managed to astral project using the DMT. And he said he experienced an entity, a female entity, sit on his chest and touch him. And when she touched him, she said that he was ill and he needed to stop, and that he needed to be healed. So she did something to him energy-wise, and when he woke up, he said the thought of a cigarette made him feel sick, and he's never smoked ever since.
Wow.
I love that on purpose. And to get back with that question with the space thing, ever seeing the planet Earth, there was a moment where I astral projected up into the sky and looked down, and the planet turned into the flower of life symbol. It was very strange. It was like a 2D huge flower of life symbol opened up on a 3D object, which was the Earth. It looked really cool. And then the space around me changed completely to like a 2D cartoonistic realm. And then I was shown with these entities. And another thing, when I astral projected, I went out into space and I noticed that there are no stars in space, which makes me wonder, because when you're on the Earth...
Imagine that.
The hologram.
Because it's a hologram, that's right.
The only thing that I saw that was bright was the sun. And that's because I was quite close to it. And then I looked at the Earth, and that was quite blue and lit up. But otherwise, I looked out, and I couldn't see any stars.
Yeah, it's all very interesting. And listening to Derek when he was talking, it's almost like a really lengthy near-death experience. Because like when you pop out of your body, it's like boom, and then you come back in. And he's discovering this like little bitty bits at a time. So that's really cool to know that people can do this and then learn and know the same stuff that I did when I died. That's so exciting for me because I'm not this selfish for Kelly. I don't feel like I'm going to be alone anymore. Like, because when you feel like you're the only one that's going through this, it's like, this is hard. But when you can talk to other people, it's like, hey, I popped out of my body and I saw this weird stuff. And it's like, yeah, I did too. It's like, oh, okay, we can have a conversation now.
And it's a worthwhile conversation. It's not small talk. I used to hate small talk at work. I hated it. And when you're in a group of people who have these experiences, especially with metaphysics and higher consciousness and seeing the world differently, you really understand that the person in front of you is deep. Like, they know stuff. They're not like small talk. How was your day? Oh, it's fine, thanks. And you just say nothing. Yeah. It's like, by the way, I astral projected. What's that? And you get everyone in the room and you start breaking it down. And I thought, wouldn't it be a good idea to do that on Facebook? So I created a Facebook group called Ryan Cropper's Friends, where the discussions there are like what we're having now, but it's all written. So if you like to type, you can check that out. But I'd like to make a video version. I guess maybe one day someone will make the platform where you can... Actually, Periscope is pretty much close. Periscope, what you were talking about, Derek, where everyone just talks live. I checked that out on my friend's phone, because she has an iPhone, and I logged in with Twitter. And people were getting live and sharing it. That's quite close to what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But,
that's pretty cool. Now, all of you, when you came out, I've asked Ryan these questions, but we've got like someone who's been doing this a long time and a newbie as well. Have you looked at yourself? Do you know what you look like when you're in the astral? Have you looked at your hand, if you have a hand, your body, if you have a body? Have you looked?
I've looked. How about you?
So what do you look like, Ryan?
Okay. Well, the first time I've looked like loads of things throughout the years. The first thing I looked like was this mass of deformed, flaccid energy. Like I was made out of blubber. Because I couldn't put my...
That's how I see a lot of people. I call it a glob, though. Like a lava lamp.
Yeah, lava lamp.
But an energy lava lamp, not a glob. I don't know.
Looking in the mirror, it freaked me out. I looked in the mirror, my eye like moved down to my cheek, and my jaw was really high, and I was like, oh wow, this is weird. So I bounced back into my body, and then when I got up, I looked in the mirror again, and this part of my torso was stretched really high, like Mr. Fantastic, Fantastic Four, and I couldn't see myself in the mirror, like my head, just my neck down, because I was so stretched.
I love it.
Then I bounced back again, came back, and I looked more more like me. But as I was walking towards this window, I looked in that mirror, and my eyes had shrunk really small. So it took me like 2 weeks to get myself looking normal. Then when I looked normal, that was when I was in an experiment. No, is it an experiment? I guess it was an experiment. But more like an experience where I was in a room and I made myself invisible so no one could see me. And then there was a mirror in the room, and because I looked at myself in the mirror, it ruined my concentration. Then everyone in the room saw me. That was really strange. But what took my concentration is the fact that I looked normal. I looked shaped like I do here. I looked normal. And I was like, oh, look, I look fine. And then everyone was like freaking out. And then recently, what I've looked like is the gas again, but more like light. It's like I don't look like I'm out of place. I look like a gas light thing, but I'm in proportion. My eyes light up blue, and you can see them through the gas, and you can see the outline of my jaw, which is orange, and my hair. I still have an afro in the Astros. But yeah, and if I want to form back together, I pull myself together, and I'm all multi-dimensional. I'm not normal anymore. I mean, the last time I looked normal was in my first video, How to Astral Project Crash Course, on my YouTube channel, and I discussed how when something touched me, underneath was black of my skin, and inside the black came out light. So it was like all the muscle fibers were black, and underneath the muscle fibers, light came out, and my skin turned translucent so you can see through my body. And that only happened when something touched me. And that was really cool, because back then I had silver eyes, and I was bigger than normal as well, like longer. And yeah, that was really cool, because it moved through my arm. I could see it went translucent on my hand, up my arm, all on my chest, and then it went back to normal again, and I looked like Ryan. And I was like, wow, that is cool. And that is when something touched me negative, and everything just moved out of my space. But yeah, I changed a lot in the astral realms. At the beginning, I mentioned to people not to look at mirrors because it freaks them out.
So, Renoir, have you looked at yourself while you're out in the abyss?
Well, I've looked at my body, and I think that was one of the things that really, I guess you can say, freaked me out. When the early times when I came out, I literally turned around because I just wanted to see what I looked like in person. But I looked at my body, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at me, I'm a shell. I mean, that's just a hollow shell. And that's when it really became such a reality to me that that's not me, that the real me is right here. That's just a shell. But I've never looked in the mirror. I never tried that one.
So you never like held up an arm, if you do have an arm, like you never like held it up and looked or anything?
I did not like that before. I held my hand up, both my hands up, but they would melt, and they would melt rapidly. They would look long, they would melt rapidly, but I would feel like a surge of energy that would come from my hand and somewhere through my navel string. That for some reason, when I do that, if I look at it just before it melts, I'm realizing now I can stay in the astral realm a little longer. I don't know much why or how that works out, but that's a trick that I just stumbled onto. But I had to look at it quickly before it started to melt. Then I would feel that surge of energy that would just go from my hand to my string, and then I could stay on that plane a little longer. But I've always been curious as to what I look like in the mirror. I've never been brave enough to do that, because on these other realms, dimensions that I told you that I've been on, and I have these other abilities, one of those abilities, I could turn into a number of different things. I remember turning into a large goldfish, and I was morphing into different animals. So I kept thinking that in my mind, well, in those planes, if I can do that, I wonder, I don't know, I'm not that brave, but I am. I'll try that next time I come out to look and see exactly what I look like, but that's as far as I've gotten. But yeah, I've never looked in the mirror to actually see what I look like out here. But I've seen other beings that have been waiting out there for me what they look like.
Yeah, it
And
looks like
some
all
folks,
kinds of weird stuff. Just what about you, Derek?
like it's
Uh-huh.
gray. Like I shared with Ryan a few months ago, I saw one of those grays that they called them, those gray beings, big head, black eyes, and that was sitting on top of my cable box and it was looking at me. And
I'm not very fond of them, by the way.
when I saw that, I was like, what's going on here? I mean, what is this thing? In the moment that it saw that I could see it, then it vanished. And then I saw this other being that was of pure yellow light, very tall, and it was standing over me. I couldn't tell whether it was male or female. I didn't think it had sex, but it was smiling, but it was a bright yellow. And it looked odd. It startled me a bit, but then it quickly vanished. But I have no idea what I would actually look like coming out. That's something that I intend to try pretty soon. I don't know how soon, because I have so many different things that I'm learning and I'm curious about, and I'm just excited about this whole new aspect and how much it's changed me, and it's changed my vibration and my look on everything else, on us all. We're all a part of the same consciousness. I mean, we're all one, really.
Yeah, it's interesting you're talking about, you're saying yellow, but I call it golden. It's just vocabulary. I was I was almost golden, like when I died, like a misty gold, like a golden mist, glob,
Love.
a globby golden mist.
Wow.
Well,
So, yeah, Derek, like, have you looked yet?
well, here's the thing. I used to try. I saw my physical body, because we have an astral body and we have a physical body. And earlier when I first, was it my first? It was either my first, I don't want to lock down enough, my first, second, or third time projecting. When I actually came out of my body, kind of like when y'all said, I turned around and looked at my physical body and I saw it just for a glimpse of it. But now I can tell you what I saw, because as soon as I looked at it, I was right back in it.
Oh, really?
As soon as I saw my body, my consciousness went back to my physical body, and I just slammed back in the body. And
Okay, so is that kind of like, not a warning, but just to let people know, if you want to stay out there, don't look at your physical
well,
body.
until you develop, you remember I was telling you about the thought responsive? This was when I was brand new. Whatever you think about, you're going. So I kind of stayed. I didn't want to turn around anymore after that. But I can tell you what I saw, and I could paint a vivid picture of it now, because, and what's so cool about this hangout, when I listen to Renan talk and Ryan and even you, I get triggers that take me back to certain, when they talk about the Astros, it triggers different things in my brain, and I can go back. Like when he was talking about his body, I got a vivid picture of what I look like. And if I had to paint a picture, it's a corpse. It was just, have you ever seen a dead body? You know it's like the form of the body, but you know when you look at that dead body, and technology has gotten so good that you could just put makeup on people and they look dead. The body just looked like a corpse. It was no life. You know, it just was there. It's scary now when you think about it, because I think, like you said, I think that's like the closest. I've never tried DMT that you can get to death when you turn around and look at that body, you know, of your body. Now, my astro, I told Ryan the other day, I said, I ain't going to the mirror yet. I could look in the mirror, but, you know, and this is
not ready for that yet.
Yeah, the fear of the unknown. That's what I'm working with right now. So that's why I kind of map out what I want to do there. So when I get there, I have a specific task when I astral project, and I think that's what keeps me at a certain vibration, and that kind of keeps a lot of the fear. I haven't seen any blues. I will take this time to tell you about two things that I ran into. I shared with Ryan, two entities. Well, one I know was an entity, and one was the little old sweet lady that's been in my house. And this is just so cool, especially if you're new. If you've been astro projecting for a while, you'll say, oh, wow. But if you're new, around the first couple weeks when I started coming out of my body, I'm very basic with my astral projection. I hang around my house. Only one time, and that was last night, that I was actually out of my house, my property that I own in the 3D. I kind of hang around that because I'm kind of like in training. You know, I'm getting my commands together. I'm becoming more, you know, I'll say increase awareness now, my command, so everything gets more vivid. But this particular day, I astral projected. I always hang out in my front yard because I can see things. You know, I'm not in the house. I'm on the astral planes. And this particular day, I walked all the way almost to the street, and I turned around, and I just looked at my house, and I just like to observe, you know. And it's all about being your awareness, to focus your awareness on specific things to get the true meaning out of what you're actually seeing. A lot of times when we hit the astrals, it's so much, you just, you know, you're just looking at everything. But when you hit that astral plane, just practice focusing your awareness on specific things. And so I was looking at my house, and it was the first time I ran into another, this person had passed on. As some people say, she had died. And I it's hard to tell you how I know. It's kind of like when I was talking to you guys earlier, and I told you my wife gave me, I could see her soul or her astral body while she sleep. I can go and look at her, and it's like a little outline of light, and I can't give you a color, but it's like it's a glow, and it comes almost, she's not astral projected, but when she sleep, you know, the body goes to sleep, and her soul illuminates. So I know she's a what do I want to say, Ryan? She's human.
Yeah.
Or she's a living being, you know, she's not a thought. Or, you know what I'm trying to say, Ryan?
Yeah.
She has a soul, you know, and because when you get on the astral planes, you have things up there that don't have a soul. Because they're projected, they're people's thoughts. So it's different things, and that when you're new, that's what freaks most of the things that freak out new people are people's thoughts, and some of them are your own thoughts that you put up there.
That's like, this is my worst nightmare. What is it? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I looked at my house, and I saw this little old lady walk up to my house, and she was trying to actually go into my house. Now this is when it really got really interesting to me.
Now, did someone else own the house before you?
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't the first.
You didn't build it new. Okay. So it could be someone who used to live there.
But check this out, Kelly. So I made it back to the porch, and somehow it was like my natural. It wasn't like I said it through my mouth, but I was like, "Who are you?" Because in the astro, it's not like
the thought form.
Is that? But I didn't know what I was doing then, Kelly. She knew it, and she turned around, and she ran off the porch, and I didn't see her for like a week.
What?
Check this out. So
was she black and white, or was she in color?
She was in. It was black and white. Like
okay, so she didn't really have a clue as to what was going on. Okay.
No color at all. She was like black and white, like you know when you turn on the TV and you get all those little dots.
White noise.
Yeah, it was like it showed me her form. Showed me her form, but I knew it was an older lady. So the next time I astral project, she was in the house. She was in, and see, here's the thing that I want to try to explain to the audience. In the 3D, and this is what I'm learning, and Ryan told me a little bit about it. In the 3D, we like own this space. We buy property, and this is our property, and you know you pay rent on this particular property. But what I'm learning in the astral, this particular woman occupies the same radius of space that I do it just in another. And you might ask, well, how can I see her in that space? A lot of times, and I'm learning this when I astral project, and Ryan, you can kind of help me on this. Sometimes some of my consciousness is still in my physical. It's like I split it. And when I project, I have half of my, I don't want to give you a number like half of it, but some of my consciousness is in my body and some is in my astral body. So I'm like kind of seeing, and I'm real sluggish. I feel real heavy or tired and I'm moving around slow, but I'm out of the body, but I'm not, my awareness, my full awareness is not in my astral body. And I would see this lady. She sits at what if I had to describe it, I would just say it's a table because it's not real clear. And all she does is looks at, it look like coupons. She sits at the table and she looks at coupons in different papers all for the whole time that I'm there.
I'm not even going to get in the story, but you've already freaked me out. So I'm not going to get in the story. But when you talked about coupons, okay.
What Ryan told me, because I could go to Ryan and I could tell him different things. I don't have, but that's what she doesn't bother. She doesn't haunt, but she's in the same space that I own in the three-dimensional. She's just out of phase from the third and the fourth dimension. She's like out of phase. You wouldn't see her, but I could see her. And Ryan told me sometimes people pass on, they die, and they don't go towards the light, so they're just hanging around the astros. They're just there, and some of them don't even realize that they have died and moved on, and they're just doing what they normally. She's just looking at her coupons, drinking her coffee, and she doesn't know. So I wanted to. That was the first one. Now the second entity that I ran into, which really taught me, and I think what my higher self was trying to teach me was space. Like we don't own any. Well, at this point, I don't. I'm sure I could probably build.
Yeah, it's all an illusion. Just you know, this they say I own this property, but if I don't pay my taxes, the government comes and takes my house. So you really, honestly, never own anything. Everything's temporary. It's all temporary.
Yeah. So I astral projected, and I always go to my front door as part of my routine because I like to go outside because I can see better outside. In my home is more like the fog. It looks like fog, or it's not vivid. It's in my house is always, for some reason, it's just always. It's not HD. It's not HD. It's not, and I can say increase clarity now, you know, and it just stays the same for some reason. But when I go
it's kind of like you need glasses on, maybe. It's just like you need some astral glasses.
But when I go outside, I can see. I can see better outside. I can see better details. So I was on my way to the door, and I've learned, instead of fly, I've learned to just think about the front door, and I can project, like doing the vibrations. When my body is vibrating, this is something that I learned. I'm vibrating, I'm going through the vibrations. When they end, I can just take all of my intent to where I want to go or where I want to project to, and I use the front door because it would take me a long time to get there when I was new, trying to, walking. So I just project to the front door. But this particular time, I projected to the front door, and it was weird because, like I was trying to tell you guys before, I'm aware of all things in the astral. Like in the 3D, you're looking through your eyes, and you can hear through your ears, and you talk with your mouth. My awareness in the astrals is I can hear with everything. I can see with my whole being. I was aware that there was a presence around me, but I couldn't see it. And what happened was that presence or that energy pushed me, not like a forceful, I just like floated away from the door, like the mid of the living room. And this entity, now this was an entity. This was not out of this because of the power. An entity once again came into my space. Now to me, in my mind, the first thing, what are you doing in my house? Because that's the way we were brought up in the 3D, that this is my house. But this entity had no awareness of that being my space. It was like, you know what I mean? It was just like, I'm just walking around. It wasn't my house to him. Maybe he knew I was new, but I don't know what he was thinking. But I didn't have fear, and we were just looking at each other. And I could see his form, and I can't tell you his color. I didn't exactly see his eyes. I could only see his form. It's kind of like Ryan said, like a gas look in the eyes, but I can't give you vivid details. But it was an entity, And this was the first time anyone had communicated with me in the Astros. And now I know, at the time I didn't know it, but now I know what happened. I want to say he, but it's like, it's not a female. I don't know if it was a female or male. So this entity told me its name. Now, what was strange about it was his name just popped up in my mind. I was just thinking about this entity's name, which I can't say, it was like another language, but it was his name. He was trying to communicate with me, but at that time, I didn't know how to talk back to him. So his name just popped up in my mind. We were looking at each other. We didn't move. I didn't have any emotion, and this name kept coming in my head. And it's funny now, my thoughts were, this is what I told him. That's weird. How did this name get in my head? You know, and so and that's what I was thinking. So I guess it was going back to him. So eventually, he just walked back through the door. He left me. I was boring. He knew, or this entity probably knew I didn't know what the hell I was doing at the time. But he's a newbie. And if I would have known to think, my name is Derek, we probably could have had a conversation, and who knows, I could have probably got some very powerful, because he was cool.
Yeah, because he's like, I'm going over to Ryan's house.
Yeah, because I didn't know anything, but it was so cool. And when you bring that, Kelly, back to the 3D, and that's why I like these conversations so much, because in the beginning, who could I tell that to?
Well, now you're going to tell it to thousands of people.
I'm at Starbucks, and I'm having a coffee.
It goes from nobody to thousands of people, so get ready.
Who could you tell that to? Hey, I met an entity today. They're tackling me on the floor and trying to put me on medication. You
That's
know?
right. That's what they do. Awesome. We've got a lot of questions over here. Let's see if we can get through some of these. Let's see. Hi. When I try to do the meditation needed for the astral projection, I always twitch. Can you? I'm sorry. I can't. Let me say this right. Can you peeps help? Okay, did I say that right?
Yeah.
What is this twitching? That happens to me sometimes when I'm just going to sleep. Is that the same twitching that they're talking about?
I mean, when I used to twitch, when I used to meditate when I was 16, that was because I was focusing too much on my physical body and not what I was trying to imagine. And then I'd get really hot, really clammy, I'd get twitchy, especially if you're trying to stay still and you're under the belief that you have to stay still.
Right, that's the thing, yeah.
Force yourself to stay in one position and you want to move, you'll start, that's a nightmare, that's horrible. You'll start twitching, you'll start getting all sorts of problems. And that's only because most people just listen to the gurus that say you have to stay still.
Right.
Or go to this position, they try to copy someone else. Right. Just get comfortable and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I can't do that. I've told you this before, and it's a similar. Always get into this infinity flow. Don't ask me why, but it'll be really physical, and I'll either be sitting down or standing up, and usually some music on, and that's when I get it. So just laying down and being still, it's like, ow, I feel this little tingling in my toe, and just I can't stop focusing on these little things on my body. Mm. That's a good one.
Me now, when I do in meditation, for me, things so many things are happening new with me. I'm finding now, like I shared with Brian, just closing my eyes for a few seconds, I begin to see visions, and I begin to see different places and things and people. So there's a lot of things that I don't understand that I'm trying to make sense of. Different time periods I'm seeing, and then sometimes I'm seeing other people who I don't know, different lands, different places. So I find when I get into meditation, I understand now, Ryan, when you were talking about you meditate for hours, not at that point yet, but I'm at a point where I get in a zone very quickly, because these visions, they just rush and flood, and then you begin to hear things, and I'm like, what is this? What's going on? And why am I seeing all of this? Like just this afternoon before we Skyped, and started to, do a bit of meditation, and I was seeing, I actually was looking at the back of the wall behind me, and I was facing this way. And I was saying, oh boy, it's starting again. And I'm now seeing all around the room, and different things are is happening. So I just stopped right there. But I want to interject something here that I was looking through in one of my books. This is very quickly that I wrote down here in this was in December. I don't know if you can see it. This was in December 2013. This is something that I wrote. I write down all of these experiences that I have. It's very important to document, whether you record it or you write it down, because you forget things and they slip your memory. And I wrote, this is the 30th of December, 2013 on Monday. I remember I was always here. So are others, but each time we come back, we keep forgetting you. And I have it written down right here. And I mean, I know I mentioned a bit of that a little earlier here, but I wrote it down right here. That's how, I'm able to remember these things. And the whole idea of coming out of your body, learning these skills of lucid dreaming is not just to have this wild trip, like we're on acid or anything like that, but it's our right. It's our God-given right. This ability, this is something that is for us. This is who we are. This is who we need to remember these things. That's why most of us we keep coming back, and then some decide not to come back and become ascended masters or just go in a completely different place altogether. But this is something that needs to be shared, and people need to understand it's real. It's not a figment of an imagination or someone eating a bad piece of pizza or anything like that. I mean, this is real. This is reality. This is more of a reality than this realm here. So I get excited when I talk about this and when I can share like this. And I mean, thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited about you to do this. I hope we can do more.
I'm excited as well. And it's, but seriously, don't eat cheese before you go to bed, because you're going to have some really weird
Kelly,
happen.
Kelly, can I add to that new person's question?
Uh-huh.
Because I'm actually teaching my wife. She's astral projected. What seems to me is an astral projection. She actually came out and saw her body, but she had some of the same things, and I had some of the same things with meditation. And the reason, and when I listen to her question is I keep twitching. Well, what that is because she's not deep enough into the meditation, because when you get to the stage where you're about to astral project, you're not even focused on your body. So a tip that she can use to get deeper into trance, so she's not even aware of her body, is deep breathe. Most people forget about the breathing, and just an example of deep breathing, most people will just go, but you really have to.
You gotta get that stomach sticking out.
You have to yes. It'll put you in trance the fastest, because what'll happen is, and you're doing it right, ladies and gentlemen, when you breathe, and right when you think you can't breathe anymore, get that last breath of life and hold it for 8 seconds, 6 times. So you're and blow all of the air out of your body. And what'll happen is you'll start to feel the rhythm to turn into a form of breathing, and your consciousness, you'll be aware of your breathing, your life force, which keeps you alive. And once you take your consciousness to your breathing, you won't even realize your body. You won't even. A fly could be on your head. You're not focused on your body anymore. You're focused on your breathing. You will go into trance, and then from the trance, everybody's different, but once I hit trance, I see vision. And it's okay to look at what you see. It's okay to analyze it, but just focus on that breathing until you get into trance. From trance, you'll get dreams, and you'll know when I'm about to astral project. I hear people from everywhere. Just I hear a lot of sound. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but hey, Mary the Joe James John boom boom. You're gonna hear that and just stay in it, and then the vibrations start. My vibrations now actually are cool. Like I don't get the, and excuse me, the orgasmic vibrations anymore. It's kind of just like just smooth. But the one thing that kind of bothers me a little bit is the whistle. For some reason, and it's not like we're hearing the whistle with our ears. It's kind of like in your head, but it's just such a high pitch. It just, what it does for me is it makes my jaw. And when you tense up doing that, it's hard to get out of the body. So you want to stay very, very relaxed. So a lot of things that I like to do is before I even lay down to project, I massage my jaws, I massage my hands. Seriously, I massage my shoulders. I just want to be totally relaxed. Tense. Well, this is why some people get stuck halfway out and halfway in, because you're tense. And you have to learn just how to relax and breathe. And you'll see, you won't even acknowledge that itch. You won't even know you're itching. You're just gone.
Exactly. It's all in your mind. Renoir, do you have any headphones or earbuds maybe? We're getting just a little bit of reverb from yours. So if you've got any earbuds, that would be fantastic. And I've got a question too. As far as the twitching goes, just to make sure that we're talking about the same thing, I have seen people who are very relaxed, and I was invited to come in and watch an actual Reiki session, and I saw the energy coming down from above, coming through them, coming out of their hands or their body. And hold on, I'm trying to figure out how to. Where's my control panel? I might need to mute Renoir for a minute while he's trying to find his headphones, and I can't find my control panel. There we are.
How's that?
Oops.
Did that work?
Are you okay? Is that better? Let's see. Oh no, he doesn't have them on yet. So.
Whoa, what have I done?
There we go. I'm just gonna temporarily mute him. Sorry about that. Oops. And I poked on him. Sorry. Anyway, so during this this Reiki session, I saw the energy coming out of their hands, and it came in like waves and everything. And then the person started to twitch. Like they had like eye twitches, and like a leg or something would start to twitch. And the person that was doing that said that that's how they knew that something was actually happening. Is this a different kind of twitch, Ryan? Is this kind of a different kind of twitch that they're experiencing, or are they actually starting to go outside their bodies, kind of like experiencing Reiki energy and twitching, or is this just a physical twitch?
I think it's physical. I don't want to say physical because you have 5 bodies, and depending on where your focus is placed will depend on where the twitch will be. I mean, if it's an astral twitch, then really you'll be like in the astrals really quickly, and then you'll be here because all the attention's on your astral body. But if it's like an energetical twitch, like maybe your magnetic field's being played with, or your nervous system's being played with, then yeah, I reckon it's physical.
Very interesting. Cool beans. Let me see if I can go back to the Q&A over here. We've got lots of questions. We're going to have to answer questions quicker. We're going to get in trouble. So, I try to astral project every night, but I can't get into sleep paralysis. Do you know if there's something common that I'm doing wrong?
Common that you're doing wrong. It depends. I use this analogy a lot. When you've got sleep insomnia, you keep thinking, and it's stopping you from sleeping because your mind is on the wrong frequency. It's constantly thinking. Well, it's the same with astral projection. So if you're constantly thinking, or you're expecting, or you're waiting for something to happen, your mind can't change properly to the right frequency in order to allow the astral projection experience to happen. So if you're having trouble getting into sleep paralysis, It's probably because you're waiting for it to happen.
Okay, cool. I hear some headphones.
Can you see Renoir?
I think he went to go get some headphones. So, we're having like a lot of reverb on that. So sorry about that.
A message
everybody.
came.
Can you hear me now?
What is that? A weird message came up saying that he was blocked or kicked out.
Oh yeah, like you accidentally blocked him trying to help. So if you can unblock him, because I don't know what that does. I've never done that before, but it popped up. It's like, would you like to block him as well? I'm like, no.
Yes, Renoir, we can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent.
Right, brilliant.
Dang it, I can't hear nothing.
Because you blocked him.
How do you not do that?
I don't know. Whatever you did, you blocked him. So see if you can unblock him.
I'll have a gander.
Or we'll do it like I'll be a medium, and like he's a ghost, and.
What is that? Okay, I'll mute myself while I play and look to see if I can unblock.
Okay. So, poor Ryan. He's like, he blocked Renoir. Oh dear.
Hey, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Just to elaborate on that question that new person had about making it to sleep paralysis. I know a way, and I'll just share this. Before I met Ryan, now, you can instantly hit sleep paralysis depending on what type of cell phone she has. There's an app, and what you would have to do is you would have to set like a timer or a ring or a alarm for, let's say if you go to bed at 9 o'clock, you want to set that alarm for, let's just say, 4 hours, so 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock a.m. And what it is while you're sleeping, you can put a phone or alarm, and it'll wake you up fast, okay? And what happens is, as long as you don't move, you will wake up in the sleep paralysis because you'll be deep sleep. And what happens is that alarm will trigger, you'll hear it, and your consciousness will come back before your body. Now, here's the downside to that. I like to tell people straight up about it, okay? The downside is a lot of times when you're new, a lot of people want to make it to sleep paralysis, but sleep paralysis is a whole thing that you really have to get used to. So the natural way of going into the sleep paralysis is better because you'll actually be aware of your body falling asleep rather to waking up and you can't move. Does that kind of make sense? So
that still makes sense because sleep paralysis, when there's a demonic entity involved, it's not fun.
Yeah, so there's two ways.
When they stroke your hair and levitate you over the bed. Yeah.
Really?
That's another show.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I've done videos, yes. So yeah, you got to get used to it. One thing that while Ryan's trying to figure out how to unblock, he's over there giggling, the deadline factor. People who are trying to astral project. In the workshops that we did, we went to California and did workshops, and we're going to Florida in September. So the rawtruthtours.com, you can get your tickets there. So we're going to go into Florida this next month. And what I found out when I did this with a large group, all we were doing was just trying to see auras, which it's whatever the end goal is different, but kind of your methods can be applied to different things. So they were trying to see it. So first I told them, you take all the time you want, and then it kept going on and on and on and on. And so I'm like, who has not seen it yet? And I'm still like seeing hands raised up, and so I'm like, well, crap, we're running out of time. We've got to move on. So I said, okay, you guys, you have 2 more minutes, and that's it. Only 2 more minutes. And after that 2 minutes, almost everybody was like, I can see it now. Wow. Suddenly, when they got in that time crunch of, okay, it's now or never. I'm about to lose my chance. Suddenly, it all fell together for them. So possibly, and I don't know how you do that for yourself, like setting yourself a deadline. But when I astral projected one time, and I wanted to, go get some information and bring it back. This is before I died, and I was astral projecting, and I needed it. It was like I've got to get this information, and that's about the only way I could get it back then. So I was meditating, and I knew that my husband and daughter were just about to get home. He went to pick her up from school, and they were just about to get home. And on the security, I was trying, and on the security cameras, I could hear, the door close. Like, oh my gosh, I don't even have a minute left to do this. And when I knew I was in that time crunch, all of a sudden, my body was completely paralyzed, because that's how I did it back then. My body was completely paralyzed instantly. I instantly accessed it, got the information, and then the door opened. So sometimes when you get in that time crunch or a deadline, then everything works out. Ryan, did you figure it out yet? I'm kind of thinking once you block someone, they're blocked forever. But we can make it work. I'll be the medium. Don't worry.
I found it. I found out how to unblock them. I had to go to my list.
Not on? Ryan's not on?
I went to blocked people, and there's no one there. So Google thinks that I haven't blocked him. And for some reason, when I go to click on his profile,
he has to log back on.
And it goes to his profile.
Renoir is saying you have to log back on.
Log back on.
So I don't know if can you hear him, Renoir? We're learning about Google Hangouts.
Anything. I'll slide out this time back in.
I can't hear him.
Okay, y'all can't hear each other, so we'll try to figure this out. Is it possible that I can't actually astral project yet because I'm not on a high enough vibration? Who wants to tackle that one? Ryan?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, actually, yeah, that's yeah. Okay, they're not in a high enough.
Do you want me to answer that?
Renoir. Ryan is answering right now, and then I'll let you know when Ryan is finished talking. I'm sorry he hates you so much he blocked you. I'm sorry, Renoir, but I'm your friend. I'll talk to you. Just kidding. He's like, you can't hear it. He's laughing.
I can't hear Ryan at all. But you all can hear him, though.
He accidentally blocked you. He was trying to be helpful, and he forgot that he wasn't the one that was doing the show, so he accidentally blocked you instead of muted you. So. Yeah, when he's doing a show and he does that, then it just mutes you for a second. But he accidentally blocked you. Okay, so Ryan, the high vibration.
It depends if you're ready. It's like if you're asking a skeptic if they're ready or not to astral project, their mindset's set in a certain pattern of thinking which doesn't allow them to astral project. So there could be many different parts of your mindset that isn't quite ready yet for you to astral project because you haven't looked at it properly. Maybe you think you're not a divine astral being. Maybe you just think you believe so much that you're physical that it's not allowing you. Maybe there's some part of you that believes in that, even if it's not the main part of you. There might be parts of you that's quite unsure that you're even able to do it, or maybe there's a part of you that doesn't believe that you can do it or that it even exists until you do it. And then again, there's the physical side of things. Your physical body, are you able to separate? Have you got enough astral energy? Are you regularly thinking in certain patterns of thinking which allows this astral energy to come forth within your body? And if you're not doing that, then it's not going to be topped up enough. Are you getting enough sleep? What's your lifestyle like? Do you drink a lot? That kills a lot of brain cells.
I'm a heavy drinker.
Yeah. There's so many things that can alter your frequency. It's not just one frequency. There's loads of different frequencies which they need to sync up in perfect combination for you to be in the state of being necessary to astral project. If not, then you could even just be thinking, I haven't done it, or I've failed so many times. Maybe it's not for me. And because you have that one doubt that maybe it's not for you because you haven't tried the right thing, that one thing can stop you from astral projecting. So I honestly don't know which one of those things it is with you because I have never met you.
Mm-hmm. Well, Renoir, is it as far as vibration goes? Do some people have problems with astral projecting because their vibration is not high enough? That was the question.
If that's the reason why they're not coming out, I think fear, for the most part, stops many persons because, in truth, everyone projects when they go to sleep. They just don't realize it. I mean, everyone. And Ryan mentioned when I could have heard him that cats and dogs they project as well. I know this because I actually had a conversation with a few dogs. I know that sounds a little off, but
And you were not
there's
in a
a dog.
bar. Just kidding.
But
My dog.
there was a particular
Kelly,
dog that was
Kelly's
not
being a
fond
bad
of
girl.
me,
It's okay.
a pit bull. He was not fond of me at all. But when I came out of my body, and he just so happened to have been out of his body too, and we were standing next to each other, and it's like it was one of those conversations like Derek was talking. You're not speaking with your mouth. It's like a telepathy thing. You understand. It's another language altogether. And believe it or not, when I got back in to my body and I got around this dog again, this pit bull, he no longer tried to back and to attack me anymore because we met each other out of our bodies. So it was a surreal feeling. And then I had another experience with another
Oh, man, that
animal
gave you
dog.
like chills. That's
It
awesome.
gave me this some information. A few folk used to like to ask me for numbers to play. Now, when I don't play numbers, but I used to have this thing where I can give you at least 2 or 3 numbers, and you would add whatever number you're carrying, and you would win. It never worked with me, only with other persons. I used to be able to do this, but I cut that out just some years ago. So here's the thing: the dog gave me, and this sounds real crazy. So I was asking the dog, what number should I tell this particular person? And the dog, stood on, his hind legs, and it was just that telepathy thing, and he gave me 2 numbers, and then I told the person that, and they won. They just added the extra number that I told them that they needed to, and they won hands down. But getting right back to the question about why most folk are having difficulty in projection, because of fear of the unknown and because of being conditioned by lots of dogma and a lot of traditional things they are hearing. They hear a lot of churches talk about is of the devil and your soul is going to be stolen or you're not going to make it back into your body. But the thing is, we have this cord, people call it a silver cord, is either connected to our navel string or to our head.
Have you seen that? Because I never saw that any time that I astral projected.
Never seen that either.
The closest thing I came to that, Kelly, to the string, was when I told you about the hand thing, the hand trick that I learned. Well, if you look at your hands, when you're out of your body, they melt quickly. But if you look at it just for a few seconds before they melt, you feel a surge of energy, and it goes right into that string, and you're able to stay actually on the plane, the astral plane, longer. I don't know why. I just stumbled under it. It kind of gives you a little bit more juice, I call it, to stay on the plane. But it's right there. If you're looking for it, when you come out, you'll find it. You'll see it. It's something that you have to be consciously, look for.
Makes sense.
You see it yourself. You want to see it. Some folk have it their forehead, from what I've heard, with some the navel string. But yeah, that's what it is. It's basically belief systems being taught by churches that it's wrong or just fear of the unknown that keep a lot of persons out, or if a person heavily intoxicated, they just the system is just full of a lot of junk. It could weigh you down as well.
Heavy.
And break your body down a lot, and then your vibration.
What about beef? Like beef. I have found I can eat almost any meat but beef. Beef, I'm so solid for days.
Yeah.
With beef.
Yeah. Different things you eat, too. I mean, can really take a toll on you, and things you drink. Now, my diet now is totally changing. Now, I'm becoming a vegan, and I'm doing that because I found over the years and eating a lot of heavy foods and different types of meat, it does weigh me down and make me feel a lot sluggish. I'm not against folk who want to eat meat. I mean, that's your choice. It's not a religion I'm trying to start. But I found that when I'm eating healthy stuff like the lentils and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, the kiwana, They call it the
Oh,
Mother Brain.
quinoa. I had to figure out how to
Quinoa.
pronounce that too. I butchered it for months. Quinoa, yeah.
I learned how to cook that dish, and it's delicious, and it's filling. It fills you up.
Oh, it
And
is. It's yummy. Oh,
it certainly
you got me
is.
hungry now. Stop it.
Full of protein. Yeah. And
And lentils. We won't go
it,
through the lentil story. Holy crap. Like, I had this lentil pasta. It was the best stuff I'd ever had, so I couldn't stop eating it. And you can just
yes.
imagine what happened after that. I will never eat lentils again. And I paid, and I paid, and my family paid as well. So,
I'm not by myself. I love
gosh, I know why people eat them. They're so good.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
So what about you, Derek? Like, you know,
Well,
the vibrational thing.
I can tell.
Do certain things to keep your vibration up, or was your vibration already up, or did Ryan work with you on that?
A little bit of both. Yeah, Ryan's program, and when I say program, I don't. Let me choose another word. Ryan's course, right? Because I've researched a lot of, like, kind of like you, Kelly. I knew this is something that I was interested in. Like I said before, I wanted to know, was I actually astral projecting, or was it a lucid dream? So I wanted to know if it was something I was already doing. And I think what attracted me to Ryan's program is the energy. It was just, I go by energy. I go by vibrations when I watch YouTube videos. And Ryan wasn't matrixy. You know what I mean by that? It wasn't like, I'm going to show you how to astral project in 3 steps. Just go to my... It wasn't like that. It was just...
Yeah, he's like a real person.
Exactly.
Yes.
It wasn't matrixy like he was trying to gain.
Yes.
He gave out so much free information, and I'm like, wow, maybe, you
Very
know...
genuine and giving and thoughtful. Oh, yeah.
The biggest thing that stopped me from astral projecting, remember I said it took me a week? I could have did it on the first day. It's the fear. Fear of the unknown and religion and all of the other... There's going to have to be some programs, ladies and gentlemen, that you're going to have to get out of your mind. When I say programs, I call them programs now because I astral project. So you know when you astral project, when you come back to the 3D, you know that the computer that we're on right now is just perpetrating of our minds. It's just a knockoff of our brains. Our bodies. It's just, you know, you got the computer, it runs, it has a hard drive, it stores information, and the powers that be have tapped into this information, and that's a whole nother video, but they put downloads in our minds to control our thinking. We think we're controlling it, but we're not. Every time you turn on the TV set and you're watching these programs, you're getting downloads. You're getting viruses in your mind.
That's why they call them programs. They're programming you.
They're programming you. They're programmed. Yeah. So the reason why you can't astral project because you're programmed not to do it. Because if you did it, you will realize that, like we're telling you, wait a minute, I'm in a whole nother dimension. What's going on? Then you start asking questions, and then awareness gets bigger, and then you have this huge community like we're building now of people that are becoming conscious, and you break out of the matrix and you realize, maybe I didn't have to go to school for 16 years you just start thinking that we're being controlled. So if you're having a problem astral projecting, you're really not having the problem. You just have to look at it real. And I said something about what's the intent, because anything you really want to do, you ever notice if you really want to do something, you're gonna do it, but you just got to get rid of some 3D things. You got to get rid of religion. I was born Catholic. I was talking to Ryan yesterday, and he actually helped me. I said, hey man, my dad is coming on me so hard because energy. Now my dad, and I love Jesus. I really do. The thing is, I know now, and no one can take this away from me, that it's not the only way. I know that now. I know that. I know that it's not the only way. It is a way.
But your dad's not there yet.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with people who are still stuck in these belief systems that, and they genuinely care? I mean, seriously, the reason they're upset is because they think you're going to hell. You know,
Yes.
and you're not going to be there eternally with them. And you're like, I can hover over you at night. You know, I'll be fine.
Like can I just say this? And because I really love humanity, and that's why I'm getting real big into this movement of not just astral projection but awareness. It's I cried, like, I remember this like yesterday. I cried my eyes out for a couple days when I found out it wasn't the Santa Claus. You know what I mean? And it was just so.
Yeah, I just went through that with my daughter, and she's like, I can't trust you anymore.
Exactly. But you know what that did, and you know what it does? It blocks this whole reality that we're talking about, because we're born with lying programs that from a baby. We get a program of a big guy with a red suit that's responsible for everything positive.
Or Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny.
Yes, yes.
Wow. So it's mindset. If you want to astral project, you have to get rid of the program,
I guess, because before you know, you have to believe. Now, believing, you don't know if it's true or not, but if you believe, that's how you get there. But then after you get there, you know you don't have to believe anymore.
There you go. Great point, Kelly.
Yeah. Not just take someone else's word or someone else's doctrine and just take it as this is the gospel truth.
Other things.
But learn for yourself. There's nothing like when you come out of your body, when you can find out for yourself.
Yeah, kiss me.
You know, when you can come out and you know that that's just a shell. I mean, no one can stand in front of you and tell you, listen, you need to do this, or you have to do this, or you're going to hell. I mean, you can say, I'm sorry if you believe that. I love you. We're all love. But, you know, like Derek was just, saying, I mean, it's not the only way. And I can say that, too, because, I mean, my background, I mean, Christianity, witchcraft, voodoo, I mean, all of that sort of thing. I mean, I know a lot of things about a lot of things, and I've touched on a lot of things. But the astral projection, actually getting to remember different aspects of myself and who and what I really am, it's just different. So, I mean, I'm not locked into a doctrine that someone can tell me that this is what it is and you must follow this or you will be in eternal flame. They can't tell me I'm going to be in eternal flame, because we are eternal beings. We are eternal. We have always been here. We will always be here. We're all connected. We're all one. So, I mean, yeah.
I apologize about my cat. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. Ryan, what he was talking about is, the doctrines and how it stifles you. Like, you're going to hell. It's like, no, I'm not. So what were you saying, Ryan? He's like, you're muted.
Yeah. I was saying, I was trying to find
Still
out
can't
a way
hear
to
you.
get Renoir back on.
Renoir can't hear you, but that's okay. You can, Renoir, you can hear what he's saying, like when it plays again. We've got about 5 minutes left in the show. So I'm sorry, Ryan. I'm sorry.
That's fine. What was I saying? That was what I wanted to say, really.
Okay. Well, hey. We said it all. We still have a ton of questions, but to each of you before we go, and we can start with Derek if you want to, just kind of give some parting words to everybody, and we'll see if we can get you guys on again, possibly. You're so full of information from every perspective, from the beginning to I've been doing this a while till Ryan was just born this way. So this has been really awesome for all of us to hear the different places that you are in astral projecting and what's going on. So anything you want to say to conclude, Derek?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I just like to thank you, Kelly, and I like to just thank everyone that is tuning into this. It's such a blessing to be a part of this, because, like I said before, I came from a very, very religious background, and I was homeless on the streets of Detroit. My story is a very common story, being born in the inner city. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and I turned my whole life around in the 3D, right? I went from homeless to making my first $1 million online, and it took me 7 years. So I was the guy that was, I can show you how to make money online and do this. I was just totally in the matrix. And you just have to be honest. I didn't even know this side. And when I found out this side and became conscious, I was just totally aware that sometimes we're sold this dream that if I only had $1 million, and I'm talking to somebody out there who, in the money matrix, I used to think
it'll fix everything. Everything will be fine.
I could make $1 million. Everything would be gravy.
No problems.
I made that $1 million.
He's had the same problems, even more.
It was the worst
More.
year of my life. It was the worst year of my life because nobody told me I had to pay taxes on the internet. Nobody told me anything.
No, you forgot about taxes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's life. It's your life. We are all, I'm going to even go as high as to say this, and this is, we'll have to do another video. We are all gods because the creator or the source or Allah or Yahweh, whatever you want to call it, we're all part of the one source of consciousness. And when you tap into this energy and you hit this other realm, it's like you're being reborn. I call religion the Similac of spirituality. It's truth, but it's very vague. You know how you feed a baby Similac? It's when you're young.
It's actually bad for you.
It's horrible for you. Okay,
it's bad for you.
It's just warm milk. It's not the meat and potatoes religion. It tells you about spiritual things, but it's very broad. Like when you start to astral project, there won't be any doubt in your mind. It's where I go to meet my higher self to get the answers to questions that I would normally have to ask somebody. I can center myself, come out of my body, and just say, higher self now. I can speak my higher self, this intelligence that exists in many dimensions at the same time, including the 3D. So if I'm stuck somewhere, it's my own universal Google of truth, though. So I can Google in the astros and ask myself things, and it just gives you a clear scope on what's going on, not just in the 3D, but the universe. And then you're living, because the 3D is just the outer crust of reality. It's the outer crust, the last manifestation of things that's happening. Everything is within. And we've been taught to look without, but everything you need is on the inside of you. And I'm going to close with this. You just have to start spending more time with you. Turn the television off and sit and just start off by just being still.
Preach it. Preach on.
Just turn the TV off. Turn off Facebook. Turn the TV off. Sit in the room and be still. And you're going to turn within eventually. The reason why you can't turn within and astral project is because you have too much noise in your head. Too many thoughts. And once you can control your thoughts, you control your destiny.
Very good.
Yes. Love it. Love it.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, Renoir.
Close with this. Yeah. I'll say this. Clarity and detachment comes when you are relaxed. You get in touch with who you are when you meditate. And meditation, a lot of folk have their own idea about meditation and what meditation is. But you understand who you are and who you're all about and what we're all about. The first time I really got to meditate and I got into a zone, I started to hear other consciousness of persons in the neighborhood. Literally, that happened, and that kind of like freaked me out for a moment. Yeah, but what I want to say to everyone here, everything is synchronized in a particular way. There's no mistakes. I am grateful once again, Kelly, Derek, Ryan, and honored to be a part of this panel here. I think more of this is needed. More persons. I mean, we need to get this information out and share. Now, I mean, here I'm in the Bahamas, and listen, folks still call me witch. They call me other things, little. But I'm telling you, I mean, this is what it is, and I mean, I can tell you how to do it. You know, you want to get to know who you really are. Come out of your body.
Absolutely. That's good advice. And I'm called a witch too, which probably insults witches because they're so much more awesome than I am. But anytime anybody calls me a witch, I'm like, wow, what an honor. Thank you. I'm not that disciplined, but thanks.
Yeah, but yeah, get to know you. That's my advice. Get to know the real you. The real you is not who you see in the mirror. You're not the man in the mirror. That's a song, The Man in the Mirror. You're not the man in the mirror. You're not the woman in the mirror. The real you is not the shell you're looking at. We are all one. There's a song Christians like to sing, we're all one in the spirit. That is so true. We are all one in the spirit. And I keep going back to that. And this is why now, whenever, even if something like kind of haunts me off a bit, this, we would get a little angry here and there with someone or something. I remind myself, this is an aspect of myself. Just rubbing another aspect of myself in another way for me to learn another aspect of myself. So get over it. And I know
get
that
over it. I
sounds
love it.
simple.
Good advice. Get over it.
Yeah, get over it. I mean, get over it and get out of it. I mean, this is just one lifetime amongst many lifetimes that lots of us we have forgotten. But I am remembering, and I've remembered some of my lifetimes, and I've seen myself lying there, that shell. So that's why when I speak this way, I speak out of passion. So I want to approach everyone and anyone who I'm in contact with love. If someone has done anything to hurt you in the past, whether it's a molestation, whether they did something awful to you. I mean, bad things happen, right? But here's the thing of how I look at this. And I know I'm long-winded, but the thing is this: I don't believe in terms of bad and good anymore. I just believe in that's what they are. We, in this human body, we give things definitions. We want to name something. We don't understand it. We have to call it something. But it's just what it is. I don't believe in the bad and the good thing and it's just what it is. It's just a different aspect to move one up higher.
Absolutely.
The vibration. Bro.
So, those are words of wisdom right there.
Yeah, that's deep.
Very good. And then we get to end with Ryan.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a shame I couldn't hear any of that. It sounds really interesting.
You'll get to hear it. You need to replay that because they said some really good stuff.
Yeah. I'll definitely replay it. I guess parting words. Building on what Derek said and Benoit, your life really is a reflection of your own mind. Like, you literally project and attract the friends and the circumstances in your life, like, all the time, no matter what it is. And even the negative things, a lot of people, 3D negative things, all of it. Even before you was here, you set them up on purpose for you to become aware of certain things whilst you're here. And that can bleed into the astral realms. Sometimes you get obstacles in the astral realms that you have to overcome. Your so-called inner demons. And these are all ways for you to become resilient in the astral realms and for you to become more powerful. It's like people want the answers for protection, and then they go to sleep and they accidentally astral project, and they bump into something negative. It's like straight away. That's the universe telling you to figure out there, and then how it is you can better equip yourself and take on that entity. But honestly, you're never going to get damaged or hurt in the astral realms. I've never been damaged or hurt in the astral realms. Some people, their imagination likes to run off with them as to what can happen, and it's so unpredictable. And people get scared for the wrong reasons as well. They think the worst, and they automatically start judging their situation. What if this happens to me? And that's what stops them from astral projecting. So I guess just evaluate your own mindset and what's freaking you out with astral projection. Sit on that, meditate on that, and really come clean with yourself. Okay, why am I listening to this person who's saying this? Have they astral projected? Oh, they haven't, so why am I listening to it? And then maybe there's a part of them that actually doesn't want to do it. You know, just go through everything, and if it doesn't make sense, then discard it. It's holding you back. And yeah, you can go online and you can check it out. There's books on it, how to astral project. My website has courses as to how to astral project. There's the free ones on my YouTube channel. I've got like 3 videos telling you how to astral project. It's everywhere. And there's an astral projection forum on my website, ryancropper.com, where people actually, I went over there yesterday, and they're really engaging with one another. They're giving each other tips and advice. That's going pretty well. So yeah, check that out. Just astral project, do it. I mean, it's either that or you wait until you pass on. And then you're going to be like, oh, I could have done this when I was alive and I waited 50 years. And now I can't go back. Whereas now you can astral project and come back and forth. And it really does prepare you for life's nonsense. So,
Absolutely it does. And it's not that everybody needs to have someone to guide them to astral project, because a lot of people do it without anybody teaching them how. But anybody that is having problems, please visit Ryan and go to his website, ryancropper.com, and get some help, because it will absolutely, you've heard 2 people that it has absolutely changed their lives. So I would suggest that anybody do this. I've got something I wrote the other day. I thought it was kind of funny. The critic says, I did not choose to, this, what you said reminded me of this. I did not choose to come here and live this terrible life. You are wrong. And so my response is, excuse me, I love your logic. I was not born because I can't remember it happening. Thanks for changing my outlook on life. So truly, yeah, it's the ones who've never been there, you know, are the biggest critics.
Yeah, they can't remember.
Yeah, we can't worry about them. So, thank you guys so much for being on this show. We are going to have to do this absolutely again.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, yay. This has been so exciting. And thank you, Ryan. It looks like you've got 2 people who are really following what you're doing, and it's working. So congratulations for helping other people in doing this. And you know, I hope you're really blessed in the future as a result of giving so much of yourself to people.
I'm just getting started.
Oh, I know. Well, this is just the beginning. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And I know you got a lot out of this. We didn't get to all the questions, but I kind of read the questions, and they did cover the majority of what you asked in your questions. So anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Love you.